In this video, I'll be sharing with you a tutorial on how to cut this stylish, simple ruched shoulder blouse. So if this is something you like, kindly hit on the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. So to start, for this pattern, I've gone ahead to mark out my basic measurement, which is the shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waistline, and blouse length. For this blouse length, I'm going to go ahead to reduce it because at the long run I felt it was long. So I'll mark my shoulder divided by 2, come down by 1 inch, and I'm going to go ahead to mark a neckline of 3 inches. Now I'm going to go ahead to place my ruler and I will connect it to that point. The next step is to find my chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Whatever I have, I made a mark there and I will draw a straight line. The next step is to go ahead to mark what I have on the shoulder back on the chest line. Now I'm going to place my ruler and I'm going to connect this all the way up. After I'm done connecting, I'm going to divide what I have into 2, come out by ½ inch here. Now I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. After marking that, I'll place my ruler, connect all the way up, and from the midpoint, I'll connect to the bust circumference divided by 4. This pattern, I will be cutting it in form of a dartless corset pattern. So I'll just go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, add my sewing allowance. I'll mark the under bust circumference divided by 4, add the sewing allowance. Mark the waist circumference divided by 4 and add the sewing allowance. On the blouse length, I'll mark my hip circumference divided by 4 and I'll add a sewing allowance. Now I'll place my ruler to connect. I'll connect from the bust to the under bust, and from the under bust to the waist, and from the waist to the hip point or the blouse length of this pattern. So I came up a little to give it a curve and I'll connect to my blouse length. So just like I said, I had to reduce the length of the blouse because I felt it was too long for the style of the dress. On the neckline here, I'll just readjust this neckline to 2.8 inches because if you notice on one side of the neckline, one side is wider than the other. One should be around 2.7, 2.8, while the other one is 3 inches, right? So after cutting out, you can go ahead to readjust it, or you can decide to just use 2.8 inches for the both sides. So from the shoulder, I'll extend this out by extra 2 inches and I'll connect to the armhole. If you look closely to the shoulder part, the sleeve of the dress extended after the shoulder of the dress. So while cutting out, I'll just go ahead and reduce the blouse of my length to about 5 inches after my waistline, and I'll cut out the rest of the pattern. So after cutting this, I'm going to use this to serve as a guide to when I am cutting the the front pattern of this dress. Now this is what the back pattern looks like, and for this dress you need to make it with a stretchy fabric because I don't think it has a zipper. Now for the front part, you're going to place it on another pattern paper, and I'm just going to go ahead to cut this out. After tracing it out, you can now go ahead to alter it to give it that ruched shoulder we have on one side, and to also create that little ruche at the lower part of this blouse, right? So that is what we are going to achieve with this pattern. So now I'll go ahead to open this up, and this is what I have. Now let's go ahead from this part of the neckline, which is about 3 inches. Take your tape down to about 8 to 9 inches and slant it to the side because the neckline is going towards the side. So this part of your neckline now will be about 2.8 inches. Then you slant it into that part of your blouse this way. Now we're going to go ahead to cut out our neckline. And don't also forget that at the shoulder of this dress we have like a ruche, and also at the lower part we have like a pleated effect. So for the lower part here, we'll also use a slash and spread effect. So what you're doing is just to add little pleats at that part, right? So now let me go ahead to cut out the neckline before we go ahead to continue with our pattern drafting for the lower part and the shoulder. So I'm just going to place my ruler this way. This is to create that slash at the shoulder, because you're going to open it a bit, place it on another fabric and pin it down, so that the shoulder of the front at this side will be wider, and then you now use the back neckline, sorry, the back shoulder, to serve as a guide when joining it back, and then go ahead to add an elastic at that side of the dress. So while cutting it, if you cut it open and if it doesn't open up a bit, you can go ahead to slash it out more, so that you get that effect at the shoulder of your dress. Now you have to like join the back shoulder, which is the actual shoulder, to this part, and it will help you align the original shoulder of this pattern. Now for the lower part from the waist, I'm just going to cut this open. Now after slashing this open, we're actually going to place this on another fabric and give little space for you to have that pleating, right? So place this on another fabric, give little space at the lower part to create that ruche. Now after tracing out that measurement, you now use the back pattern that you have. When you join the shoulder, you go ahead to pleat up the side, or like pleat up the side, join it to the side to create the pleats, and also at this side. Now the back shoulder will now serve as a guide to join that of the front, and also the pleats by the side at the front of the blouse.